What is up, guys? Fadeaway82 coming at you with a weekly Rust update video. The experience system did not go live with Rust as we thought that it perhaps would this month, so maybe next month, but we're really not sure when. But you're going to notice some pretty profound shakeups to the way that the terrain generates this week in Rust. The next version of the procedure generated terrain has been merged with the main game. You're going to notice some dungeon areas look a bit better. The power plant in particular has been really fleshed out and really has received a lot of love and attention here. This is all hand-done work, and it's really nice to see that. But the optimization of these areas is still something that is not going to allow for the greatest performance, so it's going to be a bit laggy in these areas, and tread lightly. The biggest shakeup that you're going to notice this week in Rust is that the Snowy Biome is now back in the game. It's not necessarily the same snow biome we had before. It's generating a bit differently, and it's broken apart on most seeds with different parts of the land, and the mountains tend to play a larger role in the snowy areas as best I could tell. It seemed as though the mountain peaks were a bit higher in these areas, and I'm not sure if that was necessarily the case, but it did talk in the dev blog about moving towards biome-specific mountains. Right now you're going to notice some new placeholder mountains that are integrated into the procedurally generated terrain, and it does make it look really nice, and the mountains are spread farther apart from what I could tell, and that was something that added to the scope of the maps, which have also been capped at various sizes. So it's going to be something that's going to be reined in, and I think made to generate in more predictable ways, still random, but generate in ways that are more consistent. If the map's seeds get too big, I think things can get a bit too weird. But you're going to notice the forests look a bit better now. Mushrooms are now specific to the forest biome, and they're going to spawn in clusters, so they're going to be easier to find. The node clusters, the bush clusters, have been a bit reduced, so that's been drawn back a little bit. And there's been minor tweaks, but also some important tweaks to optimization of the terrain. So things that aren't necessarily forward-facing have also been integrated with these changes to the landscape that will allow it to perform better. What will be something that will be very apparent visually will be the changes to the power lines here, and they are now high-tension models, high-tension power lines, instead of the ones that were there before. They are something that are very ominous when you look at them, and they are more rusty in nature, more in line with that aesthetic of Rust, I guess you could say. What do you think of this new high tension model? There is sort of this occasional fallen tower that will be mixed in, this slumped over tower that I think is really cool. But what do you guys think? Did you like the older models, or do you like these new ones? Do you think they add more diversity? So when you're running around the landscape, you're also going to notice that there's going to be more plentiful wild pumpkins. Corn's going to spawn more reliably, and the mushroom spawns inside the forest is going to be on ground patches with no grass, so they're going to be easier to find. Rivers are going to generate a bit better, and loading time optimizations for cliffs and monument placements going to allow you to get into the action much quicker. So overall, guys, this is a really important shakeup to the way that the terrain's been generated. Some of the changes are minor, but that snow biome being added back into the game is not minor at all. If you guys are looking for the snowy part of your seed, it's usually going to be in the northern part, so head north and you should hit snow in no time. An important mechanic that's been added into Rust that increases the survival atmosphere is that you can now fish in the game. You will not find fish populating the streams or the ocean, but you can place a device here which is going to be a fish trap. This is a food gathering item that's going to be a default blueprint. It will cost 200 wood and 2 cloth, and it will give you 3 fish per minute. So it will yield 3 fish per minute that is placed in the water. In terms of the item, you open it up, it's like a small stash and will store items. When you catch the fish, you cannot cook the raw fish. You need to actually fillet it first, so you'll need to gut it here and cut it down into fillets, and you can then go ahead and cook those and eat those, and that will give you back the health, the equivalent to 1 chicken breast. Notice here in the inventory that you can now carry stacks of 100 rounds of 5.56. Food items will stack to stacks of 10, and charcoal will be stacks of 1,000. This is a quality of life adjustment, not a game changer overall, but it's something that is definitely important because there's no sense in having your inventory filled up with just one item, and stacks are just important to having in place. You'll notice that the Sentry Turret functions a little bit differently this go around in Rust. It now has a new option, which is a Peacekeeper Mode. The Peacekeeper Mode will allow it to target, or cause it rather to target, players that are armed in the area and players that have been aggressive. So hopefully it can be used to have some sense of peace in certain areas. The reactive target now has a reduced cost and will reset itself after 4 shots are placed to it, so hopefully this will allow this item to be used a bit more. They ran some stats on it and found that it wasn't being that used, and that was partly probably due to the fact that you had to keep running to it and propping it back up. And we saw some more concepts for emotive states that might be integrated into the game, and again I really hope that we see this because it does flesh out the character models and make them feel sort of more vibrant, and there's more attachment to it, and that's something that is always an important aspect of Rust, just like that procedurally generated terrain. Both the characters and the terrain become part of that narrative, and anytime work is being done to those areas, it is really important for the game. As always guys, hope you enjoy this. Fatal82, peace.